The plains were burning gold as dusk sank low, dust swirling like ghosts across the barren land. The wind smelled of dry dirt and distant smoke, sharp on the tongue. Clara limped along the uneven dirt road, her dress shredded, boots caked in mud that cracked with each step. Her breath came ragged, eyes scanning shadows that moved where no one should be. From the barn, a creak and a sigh of wood. Silas emerged, broad-shouldered, sun-etched lines carved deep into his face, hands calloused like old leather. He squinted, studying the girl with a calm that didn't fit the chaos around her. "You'll regret helping me," Clara warned, voice trembling but fierce, eyes flashing fire and fear. Silas's lips twitched, half a smile, half a frown. He stepped closer, reaching for her hand as if weighing the cost of a choice the West had never made easy. The coyote's howl cut through the evening, sharp as a knife. Blood-orange streaks tore across the sky, and for a heartbeat, the world held its breath. Clara's warning carried secrets, shadows chasing her across the plains, unnamed threats that left the air thick with danger. Silas's heart tugged, protect the land, protect the girl. Moral lines blurred like mirages. Could trust in a stranger ever be worth the risk of losing everything? She glanced at him, chest heaving, eyes wide. The wind carried a whisper, follow or die. Silas hesitated, then decided. One hand on hers, one eye on the horizon, he stepped into the unknown. The plains waited, indifferent, and the question hung. Would aid lead to salvation or to ruin? What would you do if danger knocked so loudly at your door? If this twists your gut, hit subscribe, because the West doesn't wait for the timid. Dusk bled across the plains, golden dust twisting in the wind like restless spirits. The air smelled of dry dirt and distant smoke, sharp and biting. Clara limped along the uneven road, boots caked in mud, dress torn, each step a struggle. Her chest rose and fell with ragged breaths, eyes darting, wide and haunted. From the barn, a wooden groan. Silas appeared, broad-shouldered, sun-etched lines carved deep into his face, hands rough as old leather. He studied her with calm that felt wrong, deliberate and dangerous. "You'll regret helping me," Clara said, voice trembling, fierce. Fear and defiance tangled in her stare. Silas's lips pressed into a thin line, half smile, half frown. He reached for her hand, a choice hanging between them like lightning. The coyote's howl cut sharp through the blood-orange sky, slicing the quiet. Shadows followed Clara, unnamed threats in the distance. Silas's gut twisted. Protect the land, protect the girl, or risk everything for a stranger. Could trust ever be worth the danger? The West didn't forgive mistakes. She blinked, chest heaving, whispers on the wind, follow or die. Silas hesitated, then stepped forward, hands still extended, eyes fixed on the horizon. Dust swirled around their boots. One choice could save her, or ruin them both. Night pressed down on the ranch, black as spilled ink. A lone lantern swung on the porch, flickering shadows that danced like ghosts over the rough wooden planks. Then, a crash. A horse screamed, wood splintered, metal clanged. Instincts screamed danger. Clara and Silas dove behind barrels, hearts hammering, breath ragged. Masked figures crept closer, boots crunching dry earth. Clara's fingers dug into the barrel's edge, knuckles white. Fear clawed at her throat, but she forced words out, clipped and urgent. "Silas, we can't." He silenced her with a glance, eyes calm but hard, a storm beneath the surface. "Stay down. Trust me." The moon caught glints of cold steel, weapons raised, silent intent sharp as the scent of sweat and gunpowder. Every second stretched taut, muscles coiled for the strike. Clara's terror clashed with Silas's resolve. One choice could end everything. Defend her and risk his life, or sacrifice safety to protect the land. The night air shivered around them, every thump of adrenaline echoing like a drumbeat of fate. Clara swallowed fear, forced defiance, and whispered, "I'm not leaving." Silas's jaw tightened. His heart weighed the cost of courage, action versus morality. He exhaled slow, steady, ready to meet the unknown. Would you risk yourself for someone you barely know? Could courage mean more than just surviving the night? A lantern wavered again, shadows lunged forward, and the first shot rang out. If this twists your gut, hit subscribe, because nothing out here is ever what it seems. The barn exploded into chaos, splintered wood and screams ripping through the night. A masked figure crashed in, shadows twisting over hay and lantern light. Silas's gun barked, muzzle flash illuminating terror etched into his face. One shot, then another, and suddenly, everything shifted. Clara cried out, grazed by a stray bullet. Pain seared, her knees buckled, guilt and fear crashing over her. Silas staggered, a sharp sting in his side, blood soaking into his shirt. One of his trusted ranch hands fell, silence swallowing his life, leaving the yard heavy with shock and dust. The cold night smelled of iron, fear, and smoke, thick in their lungs. Clara's voice trembled, barely a whisper. I didn't... Silas gripped her shoulder, voice low, raw with anger and sorrow. Stay with me, girl. Focus. We survive, or we're all lost. The tragedy carved a new reality between them. Trust became fragile, bonds forged under fire teetering on the edge. Each heartbeat carried weight, each decision moral consequence. Could they forgive themselves, or each other? Could they carry this guilt forward and still fight? Moonlight glinted off discarded weapons. Every shadow promised danger. The night had claimed innocence. Now only survival mattered. When tragedy strikes, is forgiveness possible? Who deserves it first, ourselves or those who've wronged us? What would you do when the night takes more than it gives? If this twists your gut, hit subscribe, because in the West, nothing ends quietly. Dawn cracked open the desert sky, painted in pinks and purples, soft light bleeding across jagged stone. Clara and Silas moved through the canyon's throat, every step slow, careful. The air was sharp, dry, carrying whispers of death in every gust of wind. Then, shouts. A horse screamed. Pistols glinted from behind rock. The attackers stepped out, shadows hardened into men. Grit filled Clara's teeth, blood caked Silas's side. They drew iron, hearts pounding against ribs like war drums. The first shot cracked, echoing through stone. Dust exploded. Clara ducked, chest heaving, terror clawing at her ribs. Helplessness threatened to choke her. Not again, not this time. She clenched her jaw, lifted her pistol with trembling hands. Silas barked low, voice like gravel. Stay sharp, girl. No second chances. Gunfire rattled, leather snapped. A horse collapsed in screams. Clara lunged sideways, daring, reckless. Knocking a barrel loose, it crashed into an assailant, saving Silas but leaving her wide open. A gun swung her way. Silas saw it, heart sinking. He could save himself, pull back, retreat to cover, or step into the fire for her. His hand tightened on the trigger, pain searing his side, but his choice came like thunder. He surged forward, firing, a storm of grit and rage. The shot rang true, but the cost bled heavy. His safety gone, his life hanging by a thread. Clara froze, tears and dust mixing, realizing his sacrifice. Fear burned into defiance. For the first time, she wasn't just running, she was fighting. The canyon fell quiet for a breath, only wind and blood in the air. Survival balanced on a knife's edge. Can heroism exist without sacrifice? When morality clashes with survival, what line would you cross? Like if you'd stand and fight, subscribe if your gut says never back down. The last shadow stepped from the rocks, pistol raised, eyes fixed on Clara. And just like that, the showdown wasn't over. The sun rose slow over the scarred prairie, gold spilling across broken earth and twisted gear. Dust clung to everything, clothing, hair, skin, settling over bodies in the silence that followed. Clara moved among them, knees shaking, hands trembling as she tended wounds, both hers and Silas's. The ache of the night lingered, raw, a reminder of what had been lost. Silas leaned against a battered fence post, face shadowed, hand pressed to his side. Years of solitude had carved him into stone, but the sight of Clara alive softened the edges. "We made it," he murmured, voice rough as gravel, eyes scanning the horizon. For now, Clara met his gaze, fragile trust blooming where fear once lived. I thought we were done for." Her words quivered, honesty bleeding through the pain. He nodded, silent acknowledgement of the lives lost, of the ranch hand who wouldn't rise again. Their grief hung between them, thick and heavy, but in it also stirred purpose. The prairie stretched wide, threatening yet inviting, whispering that survival demanded courage, that hope required action. They moved together, step by careful step, each scar a reminder of choices made, of sacrifice weighed and paid. Redemption, Silas realized, wasn't a place reached. It was the act of trying, the hands offered when all seemed lost. Clara paused atop a ridge, wind teasing her hair, and asked softly, "Do you think we can ever really make it right?" Silas's gaze hardened with both sorrow and determination. "We do what we can. That's enough for now." Is redemption ever truly complete, or is it the act of trying that counts? What would you risk for a chance to start again? Like if you'd stand tall despite the scars. Subscribe for more tales from a West that never forgives, but always remembers. The prairie stretched before them, endless and indifferent, yet somehow alive with promise, waiting to test the next choice they made.